For today's double review, we turn to two games that's all about moving, motion, and just God-going fasting, with Phantom Abyss and Go Mecha Ball. Phantom Abyss has been a long time coming. Following its announcement at one of the Video Game Awards show, it went into early access, and after about a month or two of heavy interest, it just kind of disappeared. By the end of January, it was released at 1.0 to deliver this kind of first-person platforming roguelike. Our story is that we are trapped in a massive temple, basically a giant recreation of the Legends of the Hidden Temple, but with more traps and things trying to get at us. In order to survive, we must make our way through a series of randomly generated temples in order to collect the idols within. Now, a lot of this game has certainly changed and shifted from the original early access. The first point has been how progression, or the kind of quote-unquote story mode, has been altered. When we first play this, the idea was you just keep doing maps to get keys, which you can then use to unlock the harder levels, and the rewards were basically by spending those keys as well. Now the campaign mode involves you completing different idol challenges. Each idol is set up as kind of a randomly generated temple, but you have specific conditions and a whip you must use. The game borrows a page from Hades, in that you can add additional challenge modifiers to any of the story mode missions. This can be used to unlock additional whip cosmetics, and again for bragging rights. A lot has really been done to kind of smooth out the difficulty of Phantom Abyss. The original version was very punishing for new players, and most people probably died within a few minutes of starting their first temple. What has been done first is that your health has been increased. Before, I'm pretty sure most traps did a full heart's worth of damage instantly when they were struck. Now, when you start out, they may do a quarter to half a segment. This also opens up the door for damage boosting in specific areas. You now have roguelite elements. Your keys are no longer used to unlock new whips, but can be used to unlock new features and upgrade your base stats, including more health, more whip length, and the game's new feature, you have a dash. And the dash is a very interesting one. It will propel you in any direction. This can be used only for sideways dashing, but for vertical dashing, which acts as a quasi-second jump. And this is very important, as the number and diversity of traps and layouts has also been improved. There are far more obstacle and movement-based sections that have been added. If you are not familiar with the base concept, the game goes with a roguelike design, where rooms are stitched together, along with different traps and guardians, which you must avoid and do your best to get from beginning to end. Now, with everything said, Phantom Abyss has certainly improved, and if you're looking for kind of the original, go through all the biomes as things get harder and harder, that has been relegated to the game's new Abyss mode, which is kind of like your advanced endgame super challenge. And all in all, the changes are definitely welcome, but they still, in my opinion, don't fix the kind of underlining issue that I had with this game. And that is, despite the different blessings, despite all the different modifiers and biomes, the game still feels like one of those titles where once you've solved one temple, you've kind of solved all of them. The issue is that the traps themselves and their different types are just hard-coded. A spinning blade trap in one area is the same as a spinning blade trap in another, and in another. So once you've solved how to get past it one time, it's just a matter of execution on any subsequent tries. The Guardians once again do present a really nice X factor, but again, it's kind of similar to that of Spelunky, that no matter how much the game randomly or procedurally generates challenges, it all comes down to player skill and player execution. Once you've solved this, it doesn't really go more beyond that. I do again, appreciate the fact that the story mode now has a kind of progression and unlock system to it, and in of itself, that may be enough to get you to try out the game, experiment with all the different whips, etc. If you're hoping for like the same level of a movement tech or platforming tech of a 3D platformer, Phantom Abyss doesn't really evolve in that respect. The only new thing that was added since the game was released was the dash mechanic. And this is one of those games where I feel like you're either going to play it all the way through, or you'll go through like one or two temples and then just kind of stop. And I do think there is certainly merit for a kind of skill-based platformer-focused roguelike. I hope this doesn't dissuade more people from trying it. And I'm just not quite sure how or if there's any ways to improve on this formula. So if you enjoy what you saw in the original version of this, I would definitely check it out. If you like first-person platforming challenges, such as Hot Lava, then this is, I think, another really solid game to play. But if you're hoping for that same sense of kind of progression in terms of mechanic and level design that we normally see from the 2D, 3D platformer genre, then this may not be the right game for you. We now really switch gears to Go Mecha Ball. This is an action game that could best be described, I guess, as Marble Madness with a pinch of Doom Eternal thrown in for good measure. We play as kind of like cats in mech suits trying to take back our planet from invading strange forces. And we're going to roll, shoot, and roll some more in order to do just that. Our gameplay here is all about your different movement tech and abilities. You can of course run, shoot, you get access to 2 special abilities, and you can equip up to 2 weapons at a single time. But your kind of mech can turn into a ball, and can roll around for increased mobility. As you're rolling, you can initiate a dash. If you dash into an enemy while they're about to attack, indicated by just an exclamation point over them, you will deny the attack, and they'll drop ammo. You can also just roll and dash into enemies normally in order to cause knockback damage, general damage, or again try and knock them off of platforms or the arena. If you're really good at this game, you can also bounce on enemies, and turning this into like a Super Mario strat for some of the encounters. Now this is all important as each arena is basically a giant obstacle course for you to move and shoot your way through. Be an area, and you'll be able to choose from one of 3 randomly chosen perks. And these perks can increase your damage, stats, give you a new ability, etc, etc. The game itself feels really solid to play. And once you get used to kind of the movement tech and the physics, there is a lot of enjoyment to be had just bouncing around arenas, no-scoping enemies, or again, just bouncing them and knocking them all over the place. With that said, my main issue with Go Mecha Ball is that despite the fact that it does feature some light roguelike elements, you can unlock new stuff to appear in subsequent runs, and your runs will of course randomly generate what weapons and items you find, the overall level design or what you're doing level by level doesn't quite change enough in my opinion. There are no kind of random events or anything that can really upset you once you know what you're doing in this game. Similar to that Phantom Abyss, it's one of those titles where, despite the random generation, once you've kind of solved what the game is about and what it's asking you to do, there's not much more to it than that. An overall run of this one is also on the shorter side, taking about 40 minutes, give or take. I do like the boss designs and they do test you in different ways. One thing that this game does do that will add replayability is the different difficulty levels. Every time you beat the game, you unlock a higher difficulty mode, and this does in fact change some aspects of the run. When you get up to the first level of difficulty, the game unlocks armored enemies, who bullets will not work on them and you must use a special ability or dash into them in order to break their shield. And that's the kind of stuff that I do like to see. In terms of clarity, it can be a little hard sometimes to keep track of what enemies are active, especially the melee ones who like to dash into you. I would have liked maybe a little bit more of a clear idea if an enemy is actually going to hurt you if they run into you versus you just ramming them and stuff like that. But that's just more on the minor nitpicky side. Go Mecha Ball is a very entertaining game and definitely a must play if you like a very action and movement focused title. If you're hoping again for a lot of variance in how you play the game, this one doesn't quite do that. But I do hope that we see more out of it, and we get to do some more rolling, jumping, and bouncing in the future. But with that said, that's going to do it for these reviews. The first game, Phantom Abyss, was played with a press key, and Go Mecha Ball was played with a Games Pass access. And if you'd like me to play your game for a future stream and video, please reach out. And I hope you enjoyed our coverage of some very moving and jumping games. So go out there and run a few marathons after watching this video. That's going to do it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to do the YouTubing stuff people tell you to do. If you're interested in more of my thoughts on design, check out my books wherever they are sold. Visit our Discord and Patreon, and come back for daily discussions on game design here, and on game wisdom, where you some of the art and science of games.